started probably running gates maybe mid-50s, 56, 57, and as we got into it, I started racing. I probably went to my first race and was all up in northern Michigan in the UP because we had no snow the last 3 years of the 50s, so we didn't even get to ski much down here after 56, 57. So my first race was up probably at Cliffs Ridge, I think in 1958 or 59. Dick Baines was my the only other guy with me in it that I remember. Heidi Nunemacher was a ski racer. Candy Brumder was a ski racer, and then a little later on, Jory Ewer and Betsy Meyer joined us and went to a number of the races that I was still involved with in the late 50s and early 60s. My dad was out just about every night that we had practice, and as I said, when I was doing it, it was hard to do because we had very little snow, no snowmaking. Still riding a rope tow for most of those years. But he was out there pretty much every night, and he ended up being the guy who drove all the kids as our group increased in size. We would pack the station wagon and his car-top carrier that he had built. We'd fasten the skis to the top of that. But he ended up driving to most of these places, and you can imagine being out in the cold, helping to run the race for 2 whole days, being in Houghton, Michigan at 5 o'clock in the pitch dark after the results came in, and then saying, okay kids, pile in the car, we are now going to drive back to Milwaukee, which then was at least 7 hours away. As I said, we had no snow here, and we knew I was going to go to my first regional race that winter in February. We took a drive out to Aspen and spent a week out there with another great, this was an Austrian instructor, and I basically skied with this guy every day, all day, for a week. We skied in Region 2, which was Wisconsin and the UP. And we tried to do well enough in the regional races so we could go to the divisionals. One year I could have actually gone and ended up having to stay here for a University Lake School basketball game. So I didn't go, but my little sister, who was 4 years younger than I was a class 4. Very unusual for class 4s to even qualify to go to the divisionals. But she did, and she went to Petoskey, Michigan, and skied at Walloon Hills on a very steep, icy, rutted, sort of dirt track downhill against all the best kids from Minnesota, Lower Michigan, and of course our region too. She came down without much any trouble at all, and everyone was really surprised that her time as I think maybe she was an 11-year-old, was as good as all but 2 of the 18-year-old Division I girls, which it's kind of caused a little bit of a hubbub. And when they decided after all the results were in that she was too young to go to the nationals, even though she had beaten most of the girls who were going to end up going. When I went to college, I went out for skiing after our soccer season, which I also played in college. We went out for skiing, so we didn't have to do PE in the wintertime. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to make this ski team out here. But we had a lot of fun that first year. The freshman team drove ourselves around to Eastern Division races and got our act together. I got some new skis and skied some with the team, but not on the carnival circuit until the junior year. We still had a lot of really good alpine skiers, but that year one of them was hurt, one was in Europe, and all of a sudden I was the number 3 guy on the Williams team for Division I carnival skiing. And as my coach said, he said, your job is to count, which meant do not fall down whatever you do, and try and stay within a couple seconds of the good guys. And we had 2 really good slalom and downhill skiers on our team. But half of the other guys out on the eastern teams from Middlebury and Dartmouth were either on or just back from the U.S. ski team. So You can imagine the difference in skill level between me and what these guys, who they called elite A's, not A's class, but elite A's. But we did really well as a group, and I skied that whole year as our third man and did not fall down. But the only reason I could do that is because I had a good base of skiing, both some out west, and a lot of it was skiing at Heidegger. Our kids were in the racing program, both Metro Milwaukee, and for our son, the Central Division. We made it all the way to the elite group there. I enjoyed senior racing for Heidegger Higo when we got back. Some of my old friends from the Hill were into racing, so I did that when I had time, when I was around on Sundays. Actually didn't spend much weekend time at Holy Hill. I was either at a kids race or a senior race. So we definitely stayed with the program, and my son and daughter both were college racers. So the program obviously was still doing pretty well when they got through, 20 some years after I did. It's just nice to be able to give people a little bit of a feel for the difference between racing back then and the unbelievable skiing that I see the kids doing now. It's just hard to believe.